Consider living abroad and is South Korea one of your choices? Today's video, I'm gonna break down my first month expenses right here in South Korea in terms of food, transportation, accommodations, Airbnbs and hotels. If you're interested in this, stick around up until the end. I'm gonna break it down by categories and reveal to you all my expenses this month. Let's get straight into the video. Let's go. The current exchange rate of Korean won to SGD is roughly about 980 Korean won to $1 SGD. I've been using the U-Trip debit card for my expenses right here, in addition to the cash that I've brought to South Korea. If you do not know what the U-Trip debit card is, I'll link the video up above and down below. It is a convenient and essential card to bring overseas with you, not only just in South Korea. Because they give you the best currency exchange rate, U-Trip is honestly one of the best cards for overseas travel. I'm not going to go into more details here. If you want more details about the U-Trip debit card, refer to the video up above and also down below. Expenses right here in South Korea, it's not cheap at all. If I were to compare it between Singapore and Korea, I would be able to say that Singapore's cost of living is definitely much cheaper. The average cost of food here varies about $8 to $10 SGD. Depending on where you go, it's gonna get a little higher. $8 is the basic and the most common price that I've seen in the restaurants right here. They do not have what we have in Singapore in terms of food court, but they do have markets. Going to the markets, in Korean it's called Sijang. You would know Gwangjang Sijang, the very famous markets. The cost of food there varies about 8,000 Korean won. If you go for tteokbokki, maybe it'll be about 3,000 to 4,000 Korean won. It can vary in terms of the prices. When I go into my category of expenses, I will show you individual transactions as well, and from there you'll be able to see how much each item costs. I'm gonna put it out here. Cost of living in South Korea is not cheap, and it's gonna be higher compared to Singapore depending on what you spend on. If you are living here on a monthly basis, I would recommend cooking, which is what I will be doing when I move to Jeju for a month. I'm going to be cooking a lot more and eating in a lot more. I will still be able to see the sights and everything, but I will reduce eating out because that amounts to quite a bit of a cost. Let's go into all the categories that I have and I'll share with you more. Breaking it down into categories, I've broken them down to breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, transportation, gifts, intercity bus and train tickets, and shopping. I do have some cash that went missing. It's miscellaneous. I will go more into that later on. And also laundry. Living here long term would mean that you have to do your laundry as well, and because I don't live in an apartment as often, I do have to pay for laundry as well. Let's go into the food cost first. Breakfast, most days I've been having bread and jam and also my essential coffee. I've gone to E-Mart, Lotte Mart. If you saw my E-Mart video, that was the first time I went to the mart to buy the essential breakfast items. And after that, we have lunch. Lunch, I've been eating out most days. I will most likely try and find somewhere cheaper as well. But when I do go out for meals, we do spend a little more. And that goes for dinner as well. For snacks, snacks will consist more of cakes, coffee shop, cafe visit, etc. I will break down more later. When I open the breakfast category, you'll be able to see that I've been buying breakfast cakes that I've bought on my first day, bread, loaf of bread, garlic bread, Isaac toast, salt bread, the very famous salt bread right here in South Korea. I've tried that as well and it's pretty good. The surprising thing is that bread cost here is very expensive. It is not cheap at all. If you go to our local bakeries like Four Leaves, a loaf of bread can cost you about $3 to $4. Here goes for $5 to $6 at a bakery. If you want to get cheap bread, go to Lotte Mart or E-Mart. They do sell loaf of bread like in our NTUC. One loaf of it costs about $2 to $3. Coffee, I've gotten a bag of it, 150 grams for about $7-ish. I'm not very sure if that is cheap or not. You can let me know in the comment section below. So breakfast in total for this month, I've spent 47,800 Korean won, which is $50.67 SGD. For lunch, I've spent a total of $202 SGD. Korean won is 191,290 Korean won. Just to give you a note, these expenses are broken down for one pack. It's not two person into one expense right here. It is one single individual's expense. Lotte food court costs 10,000 won for a barley bibimbap. So one dish at a food court already cost me 10,000. It is at a shopping mall. I'll give that to you. When I go into the markets itself, you can see tteokbokki and kimbap cost me 6,215 won on my U-Trip card. Raw fish, hue topap is like sashimi rice. At Sokcho, I've had it at 17,000 Korean won. One dish like that costs about 17-ish dollars SGD. Things like kalguksu, basically bring it back to Singapore terms, it is ban mian. It costs about $7. Dumplings cost like 8,000 Korean won, which is like $8. Yesterday, I've also had UK bibimbap, which is raw beef bibimbap rice. It cost 8,000. I had it at Gwangjang Shijang, which is very near the accommodation that we are staying at. And in total, my lunch cost $202 in a month. For dinner cost is slightly lower after I've shared it. So in total, it costs $145.60, which is 137,340 Korean won. You can see for dinner there are things like kimchi jjigae, which is like kimchi stew with rice. It costs 8,000 Korean won. You have Americano. Americanos here, some places are cheap, some places are more expensive, so it varies as well. The cheapest Americano I found was 900 won, which is roughly about $1. I have shrimp burger, which was fast food right here in South Korea. It costs 6,380 won, roughly about 650 SGD. Chukumi is small octopus. It costs 20,000 Korean won. Fried chicken is 10,000. Bibimbap was 13,000 at a certain restaurant in Jeju. Jeonju's famous for bibimbap, so I had to try it. Bibimbap for $13. You would just spend it because you are there for a while only, right? The next category that we'll go into is snacks. When I open up here, you'll be able to see I've gone to cafes, I've gone to the markets to buy hot dog. If there's one food in Korea that I really love, it is hot dog and also the walnut snack that I've gotten at the rest stops. So I spent a total of $111 for all the snacks that I've had in this single month. In total, my expenses for food, for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and groceries, I will put the amount right here for your reference. It is not going to be cheap, but it will be cheaper when you buy groceries and cook more often. Now, let's talk about transportation here. Transportation cost here is not very expensive if I were to compare it with Singapore. Each MRT ride or bus ride that you take, when you tap with your T-Money card, it costs 1,250 Korean won, which is roughly about $1.30 SGD price. Having the T-Money card will save you some money. Buy a T-Money card or a Namane debit and transportation card. I do have a video on the Namane card and why I think it's a good card to have even if you're traveling short term to South Korea. It's one card that you can create memories with and also have your cash in the card so that you can use it in South Korea where you don't have to carry a lot of loose change around with you. Refer to that video, I'll link it up above and down below. For transportation in Korea for my first month, I spent a total of $115. Korean won is 109,270. It includes taxi rides as well. I would say that I was surprised that taxi rides are actually quite cheap right here if you compare it with Singapore. For a ride of about 50 minutes to an hour during the peak hour on my first day here, I incurred a total of $18. It is cheap if you compare it with Singapore. A peak hour Grab ride in Singapore will cost you about $40 already, depending on the distance, the time, the surcharge, etc. Now let's talk about intercity travel by train and buses. I've traveled to cities like Jeonju, Sokcho, Busan, and then back to Seoul. The most expensive out of this was from Seoul to Busan. The total time covered was 3.5 hours. It's a pretty long ride, and in total that cost me $61.30 SGD, roughly about 57,820 Korean won. So in total for intercity travel, I spent a total of $162.77 in SGD. In Korean won, it is 153,540 Korean won. Now that I've covered food and transportation, let's go to the miscellaneous items such as laundry. Laundry, each time as I mentioned you do it, it costs 2,000 Korean won at the hotel or at the Airbnb that I've stayed at so far. Some places do give you free laundry, which I've taken advantage of that as well, and I really appreciated the fact that there are a lot of dryer machines right here. So instead of having your clothes, leave them out to dry, you have a dryer machine where you can just throw it in for an hour and your clothes will be dry after a while. Of course, yes, you pay for that service as well. For laundry, in total, I spent 10,000 Korean won, which is roughly about $10 SGD. And moving forward, I spent a little bit on shopping and essential items as well. In total, my essential item cost me $105.88. In Korean won, 99,880 Korean won. And for shopping, I spent a total of $190. And the last category that I'm going to cover is gifts. So gifts I bought for people, etc. I'm not going to go into exact details for that. I spent a total of $150 for the gifts. Now, let's talk about accommodation prices in Seoul, South Korea. You can find lodging at a cheaper price if you join Facebook groups and if you are staying here for a longer period of time. But because my first month here in South Korea, I've been moving around the different cities. I've been staying at Airbnbs, if not Agoda was my main platforms that I go to find my accommodations. I will go through with you the accommodations that I've stayed at here, show you a bit of a room tour as well. For accommodations in total, I spent spent $1,299.40, and that is for 23 nights. Per night, it cost me $56. Keep in mind that the accommodation that I've stayed at are all individual apartments, meaning you do not have to share it with someone else and you have your own private space. The places that I've stayed at are not too shabby, so just have a look at this. When I first came to Seoul, the first Airbnb that I've encountered was really bad and I had to cancel and change to another apartment. I spent a total of $481.27 for the first 8 nights here in South Korea, and that cost me $60 a night. The hotel that I've changed to after was called Seoul N Dongdaemun. It is not too shabby of a hotel. You could have shared the room with someone else and it will only cost you $30 a night. They do long-term stays as well, so if you're interested, you can contact them. The next city that I've moved to is Sokcho. So for Sokcho, I really love that place and I love the accommodation and it's not too expensive as well. When I went to Sokcho, I took the bus from Seoul to Sokcho, roughly about a 2-hour ride, and you will get to a place where it's quieter and you are surrounded by the beach. So at the place that I've stayed at, the name is called the Mark Sokcho Residence. It is an apartment, something like an office tel. Once you go into the room, you have the entire space to yourself. You have a dryer, you have a washing machine, a kitchen, a living area, your bedroom, and also the toilet. Between the living area and the bedroom, you can separate it by the sliding door that they have as well. That place in total cost me $302.90. Per night is also $60.58. Next up, when I moved to Busan, I booked an Airbnb that accommodates for 2 person as well. This place does not have a dryer, they only have a washing machine, so essentially once you wash your clothes, you have to lay it out on the rack and dry your clothes. That place cost me $60 a night, a total of $239.99. And after that, I moved to Jeonju. Jeonju's accommodation, I was alone, so in total it cost me $213.53. Per night, it cost $42.71. Yeah, and that is the last of the accommodations. Right now, I'm back in Seoul and I'm currently in a hotel. I will share with you more about these accommodations subsequently. If you want to know where I'm staying at Seoul, you can DM me on Instagram. I'll share with you the location. The current hotel that I'm staying at in Seoul is honestly not too shabby. If I come back here for a long-term stay again, I would definitely book here for a month long. It is a hotel. You have a gym right at the basement, your laundry area, kitchen, rooftop where you can enjoy the city view and also dine there. And at the lobby area, you have a cafe which you have access to hot coffee or iced Americano to start your morning. You might have noticed I did not add things like my travel insurance and also my SIM card that I've bought here. These are items where you essentially would incur when you travel most of the time. Please get yourself insured with travel insurance. It is very important. So this marks my total expenses incurred for my first month in South Korea. Food, transportation, everything, I'll put it here. Accommodations, I'll put it here. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. This video is really long. It is only for those of you who are really interested in cost of living here in South Korea, how much I spend on. If you like this kind of content, let me know in the comment section below. I do have another month where I'll be able to cover my expenses again, but in that scenario, it'll be a bit different because I will not be going out to dine that often. The more realistic expenses, you'll be able to see it. If you want to see that video, let me know in the comment section below. That is all I have for today. Have a good weekend. Have a wonderful week ahead. Subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.